All right, guys, we got some breaking news. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has just announced that she is resigning from Congress. That will be effective January 2026. This news just came through. She released a video. Let's take a listen here and see what she had to say. Some of the things that I noticed in this video, she is calling out, of course, the Republican Party, which is she is a member of. She's also calling out just the uniparty system altogether. She refers to it as the political industrial complex. Let's go ahead and get into it. Wow.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that.
Let's pause here for just a second. So one of the things I noticed, I've already seen this video, but it's very clear that she's calling out the uniparty system here. I also find this very interesting to happen right after the release of, or the push for the release of the Epstein files, even though we know they're going to be heavily redacted. Of course, they're not going to let all those names out of there. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, in some respects, has been the one that has been willing to push back against Donald Trump. She called out Donald Trump, right? Thomas Massie, along with her, has done the same thing. And I think this says something, and this is something I've pointed to time and time again, which is that in these parties, at the end of the day, it comes down to what's best for the party, not necessarily what is best for the constituents. And of course, also not what's best for the politicians that are there. It's always about the party interests first. And the party interest aligns with the donor class. So you always do this path where you follow it, follow the money, make that path back to the money, and then you start to understand why things happen the way that they are. So think about everything that has happened this year with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has called out money that is being sent to Israel. She went as far as to call it a genocide, even though she didn't last year. But under Trump's presidency, she seemed to be even more bold or emboldened and to call these things out, other than when she was under the Biden administration. That's really interesting. But calling out the genocide, calling out the U.S. sending all this money to Israel. She also heavily called out Donald Trump not releasing these Epstein files. She joined this coalition with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie to get that push for that, to get some type of justice there for the victims. Another thing that she's done more recently is calling out the economic situation, right? So Marjorie Taylor Greene lives in rural Georgia. She's not in Atlanta. She's not in Savannah. So in her district in particular, when you start to see these cuts with Medicare, Medicaid, all of these types of things, and the cost of living increasing, the red states are the ones that are going to be impacted the most because those states have less funding. Inside those states, the rural areas are going to take a big hit because they don't have as much funding. So Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she has been listening to the concerns of her constituents and she's being vocal about these issues because of that. Now, all politicians should do that, but they don't because they're beholden to the donor class. The timing of this, of her resignation, when she's choosing to resign, we're going to get to that in just a second too, because there is something to note about that, about when that pension kicks in. But let's go on a little bit more here.
That breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass the plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day.
So once again, she's saying both sides of the aisle. I mean, she's speaking as though she's a third party politician, or as if she's an independent. Something that I want to bring up here that she mentioned when she talks about how she voted. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted along with her party most of the time. But what this goes to show you is that if you bend in any way, shape, or form, they can still try to push you out. Now, I have my opinions here about what I think may have happened. It could be a couple of things. One, I think she has been getting tremendous pressure because of her collaboration to release the Epstein files. Two, the Israel issue. I think she's been facing pressure about that from her own party. We all know she has from Donald Trump. He's called her out. He called her a traitor, and she said that he's the traitor because he's basically helping Israel first instead of American people first. And then there's also the possibility that she doesn't want to go down with the sinking ship. Oz from Beauty and the Boomer mentioned this to me on Twitter. He said that the ship is sinking and she doesn't want to go down with it. All of these things could be a possibility. But what I have seen in the past, in particular when it comes to Congress, is that when these politicians don't go the way of their party, there have been efforts to either push them out, or there's been big money that has been spent to get them out. We saw that happen with Cori Bush. We saw that happen with Jamal Bowman. Dennis Kucinich in the Democratic Party, they redrew his district because he wasn't willing to move their way. So they redrew his district so he wouldn't have one. For the most part, under Donald Trump, most of the politicians in Congress have gone along with what Donald Trump wants. But this time around, things are a little bit different. This time around, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie have been willing to say, no, this isn't right. And that's why you see Donald Trump right now is trying to wage a primary against Thomas Massie with the help of Maria Madelson and all the money that she has. So I don't know which one of those three things, but I've just put them all together. But this is usually what is happening in this part. And then there's the other thing. Among that immense pressure that she has been facing because she has gone against her party and gone against Donald Trump on those issues that I mentioned are threats. And it could very much be that her family members have been threatened. We never know. And she may never tell us. But there could have been threats on the lives of her own family members. And this has happened in politics before. Let's continue.
My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas, just sit. They all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media, obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years. They actually do their own grocery shopping and no food costs too much. Their rent has increasingly gone up and up. They have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house. They have been laid off after being forced to train their visa holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, long story short, she broke code, right? Like, because she went against is this idea that it was okay to call out the economy and the affordability crisis under the Biden administration if you were a Republican congressman or congresswoman. But under Donald Trump, you were supposed to nod along with Trump and admit or say what he says, which is that everything's looking great and the economy's on the up and up. And the reality is those of us who are a part of the working class, we know that the economy is not on the up and up. We know if you do your own shopping, if you're the one that goes to the grocery store, you know the prices are increasing. So she broke code. She was supposed to just go along and nod her head, just like Mike Johnson and all the rest of them. They don't want to acknowledge these things. They know these prices have gone up too. They know the economy's not great, but they're playing the game. And this is what I say about politics as well. Politics is all a game. This is all a game. And depending on how you play the game, that can determine the outcome of your political future. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene is not willing to play this game anymore. So she broke code. And that is why you see them coming after her. Same thing with Thomas Massie. But I want to reiterate, she votes with her party most of the time. But that's not enough nowadays. Nowadays, it's like you have to bow to the party. You have to bow to Donald Trump. Otherwise, he'll try to get you out of there.
These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. Good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back. And I showed up in places like outside the New York courthouse in Collect Pond Park against a raging leftist mob as Trump faced Democrat lawfare. Meanwhile, most of the establishment Republicans who secretly hate him and who stabbed him in the back and never defended him against anything have all been welcomed in right after the election.
Notice that she said, so behind the scenes, some of these people who kiss Trump's ass in person, behind the scenes don't like him, right? So they know how to play that game.
And I will never forget the day I had to leave my mother's side as my father had brain surgery to remove cancerous tumors in order to fly to Washington, D.C. to defend President Trump and vote no against the Democrats' second impeachment in 2021. My poor father and my poor mother, it was way too much for all of us. Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promises and only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt for life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than that, my voting record has been solidly with my party and the president.
See?
Loyalty should be a two-way street. And we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of nonstop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much. And I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me.
So she's letting you know right then and there, she doesn't want to have to do that. She doesn't want to have to defend Donald Trump. So she knows it's a sinking ship. She knows that's what's happening. This is somewhat of a win for the neocons. Like, they're celebrating right now on social media. They're happy about this. They're like, woohoo, she's getting out of there. Yeah, let's push the wars. But I was very surprised to see that even leftists like Medea Benjamin said, no, don't go. We need you. So she managed in some way, shape, or form, because of her pushback against Israel and support for the Epstein survivors, and now more recently talking about the economy, she had managed to win over some people, even on the left, on just those issues. Now, I say just those, not the other ones, so don't go crazy. But yeah, it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if she stays there, then, like she told you, she's going to be expected to defend Donald Trump, and she doesn't want to do that. If you leave, then it's like, well, then the neocons and Donald Trump and all of them get their way. So I don't know. It's kind of like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. But this is the problem with political parties.
It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
Oh, she leaned into the woman card. No, she didn't. No, yes, she did. She leaned into, yes, she did. She leaned into the woman card. She said, I refuse to be a battered wife. She is describing her experience in Congress under the Trump administration as a battered wife. She leaned into that. Like, oh, whoa. She knows. Oh my gosh. Obviously not laughing at battered women. I'm not laughing at them, but I'm laughing because she went all the way and she leaned into that. Oh boy.
If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world, or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
Wow. She said it's the political industrial complex. Again, like I said, she's sounding more like an independent or a third party like politician, right? More and more people are starting to see this, guys, and that does make me happy. But here's something. Hold on, because look, watch this. Let's talk about that resignation date. This was interesting. Colin shared this. He responded to me here because I said, this is the problem with political parties. At the end of the day, it comes down to what is best for the party. Anyone who tries to defy it is pushed out or threatened. I'm willing to bet both here. And Colin said from AOC's IG, this is funny. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she plans to resign in January. So I guess this is what AOC said here. She's carefully timing her departure just 1 to 2 days after her pension kicks in and after making millions of dollars from insider trading stocks for weapons manufacturers and others while in office. She is saying a lot, but her actions have not backed up her rhetoric. For all her talk, she's still voting with them to gut healthcare and advance self-dealing corruption schemes. So these are just things to keep in mind, folks. Like, we haven't forgotten about the insider trading and, voting along. Like I said, most of the time she votes with her party. Now, she did break away on the key issues that I was telling you about. But I will also say this. Marjorie Taylor Greene did something that AOC didn't do, and that's push back against the current administration that was their party. Marjorie Taylor Greene called out Donald Trump by name and said that he was actually the one that was the traitor. AOC under the Biden administration still wasn't even willing to call Joe Biden what he really was publicly because she has political aspirations. So there were many of us at a time that would have loved to see AOC have that type of like, Biden, no, you're a genocider, you're a war criminal, and this is what you're doing. Like, there were many people that wanted AOC to do that. That's what she was supposed to do. That's what Justice Democrats was all about. You were supposed to go in there and bring the ruckus, and it was going to be a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. That was the assignment. But she decided she wanted to have a political career. And the reality is this, folks, and this is what some people don't want to hear. If you don't move the way that the party wants you to move, especially party leadership, they will make sure you don't have a political career. And that's the crazy and the sad part. I want to show you some of the responses and then I'll get going. It's getting late, but I did want to go ahead and make this for you guys. Jenk said, I would have never imagined saying this, but don't go, stay and fight. Even though we still disagree on many things, you are one of the very few honest people in Congress. Stay and fight. Gen X Girl said, thank you for speaking out this year for the voiceless. From the genocide in Gaza to victims of Epstein and the horrible policies to further trap Americans in debt and joblessness, you are a hero to millions on the right and the left. Today is a sad day for America. Again, I don't think people should view politicians as heroes. Just want to say that again. I think the heroes are the people that are in your community. Noxie said they're blatantly telling us they will threaten, bully, and intimidate anyone in office who actually works for Americans. A perfect conservative voting record is no longer good enough. Representing your constituents isn't good enough. You have to bend the knee to the deep state. So people are seeing it and people are calling it out. And yeah, I got to tell you, I did not expect to see that tonight. I was literally like, I'm about to watch a movie. I'm still going to watch that movie, but I was not expecting to see this tonight. And It's wild. It's wild. It makes you wonder if Thomas Massey's going to be next. Is he going to resign next instead of having to deal with the primary challenge and the Miriam Adelson money? It literally is a mafia. Like the political system in this country is just one big mafia. It's all run by big money, corrupt people, billionaires. And if you want a political career, it's like you got to move the way they tell you to move. Otherwise, they'll threaten you. They'll intimidate you. They'll go after you. They could threaten your family members. Like I said, it's like a mafia. They'll push you out. So you heard it here first, folks. Marjorie Taylor Greene has officially announced that she is resigning from Congress. And yeah, it really makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder, you know, how much some of these other people are going to be able to get done. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.